Welcome elected members, guests and members of the public to the Ordinary Council meeting for the 15th of April 2026. I declare this meeting opened at 17:30. The City of Busselton acknowledges the Wardandi and Bibbulmun people as the traditional custodians of this region and pays their respect to their elders past and present. Thank you for joining us today in person. This is a formal meeting of the City of Busselton and certain protocols do apply. The meeting is being live streamed and recorded to ensure an accurate and official record, and I kindly ask that you do not record, photograph or take videos during the proceedings, as the official recording will be made available online. I understand that you may hear matters that you strongly agree or disagree with. However, as invited observers, I ask that you respect the formal nature of the meeting by refraining from making comments, chatting or applauding during the proceedings. This helps maintain an environment where business can be conducted efficiently and respectfully. And I thank you for your cooperation. In attendance, myself, Mayor Phil Cronin, Deputy Mayor Councillor Kate Cox, we have Councillor Max Mueller, Councillor Michaela Love, Councillor Andrew McNeish, Councillor Herman Dykstra, Councillor Anne Ryan, Councillor Peter Adams and Councillor Jared Kennedy. We have no apologies, no approved leave of absence. Under disclosures of interest, I have a financial interest for item 19.1 from Dr. Gary Hunt, PSM, the Chief Executive Officer. We have an impartiality on this same item for Director Pearson. On item 13.2, we have an impartiality interest from Councillor Anne Ryan, and on item 17.1, we have impartiality from myself, Mayor Cronin, and Councillor Mueller. This will be declared before the items come to Council. I now move on to item 5.2. In accordance with the City Meetings information sessions and decision-making processes, Council policy public question time will be allocated a minimum of 15 minutes. I request that members of the public asking questions limit their amount of preamble to their questions. I will otherwise ask you to put your question. Tonight I've received 2 requests for public question time. Firstly, we have Brian Carroll. Brian, are you here? Please step forward, Brian. Normally, I would say that we only ask for 3 questions, but as I've only got two people speaking today, or 2 allocated, I will allow you your additional questions.
So how many questions?
Occasion. So I will allow you your 5 questions on this occasion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let me just get this up, please.
Is Nina Stoddard?
Nina's here.
All right.
Yep.
You can sit here if you wish, or you're quite happy there. Thank you. As it was from 2 people, that's why I'm allowing the extra questions.
Just bear with me for a moment. My first question was, Provence started building in 2008. That's almost 18 years ago. Satterley Group promised a shopping centre. They sold a lot of blocks of lands and then moved on selling the rest of the estate to the Yoke Group, I believe. Did the Shire speak to Satterleys about not looking at why they didn't do the shopping centre or start on the shopping centre?
Thank you.
That's my first question.
I'll refer that to the CEO.
Thanks for the question. Unfortunately, the city has no control over the timing of when private developers develop their land.
So what you're saying is anybody can put in to purchase blocks of land and say what they're going to do and they don't have to do it?
No. What I'm saying is the city does not have control over when that particular or those particular facilities are developed, provided they are developed at the conclusion of the program of works, then they have met their planning application requirements.
But they didn't meet their program of works.
Brian, I don't wish to seem rude. This is questions of council.
Okay.
It's a process, but you are more than welcome to come in and talk to one of the directors further about this. But if you can just stick to the question.
Question 2. I would also like to know why the Shire has not approached the Minister of Transport for a major bus service for Busselton and also Yalyalup. You know, we now have in Yalyalup 3,000 residents, which is going to be rising to 6,000 within the next 2 years, as stated by yourselves. And we have in Yalyalup no service whatsoever.
Okay.
Can anybody answer me why nobody's put forward for a bus service?
Well, we'll find out that answer. Mr. Seah.
Firstly, I have to say that Busselton as a locality has fairly limited public transport facilities. At the request of elected members in August of 2025, the Public Transport Authority provided a briefing to councillors to outline the current and future plans for the PTA to increase operations throughout the city, and generally what were the processes to be able to increase the services. The manager of regional and town bus services of that Public Transport Authority advised demand studies had not identified the airport or Yalyalup as priorities for service provision. Current priorities were to increase existing service frequency, particularly connections to Dunsborough. PTA had calculated possible routes incorporating the airport and Yalyalup estates, but could not achieve the alignment between the flight landings and the takeoffs with the times required for the Yalyalup residents. Any new service requirements require a comprehensive business case by the PTA to receive funding, which would require significant underwriting by the city to be viable. And the city is not in a position to agree that it's this local government's responsibility to fund rate transport services.
You mentioned you spent, well, you haven't mentioned it, but the Shire has spent over $60 million on refurbishing the airport, yet there's no reason, you don't give me a reason why you haven't included the bus service to our airport.
Yeah, sorry.
So you're not answering my questions, that's what you're saying?
I think he
I'm not
did
saying
answer.
that at all.
I didn't think you answered. Let's carry on then. Question number 3. With the expenditure that you've put forward with 60 million towards the airport and 72 million to date for the salt water,
That figure's not correct. But
isn't it? Well, I got them from your from online, so they're not correct. 72 million is not what you spent on so far for salt water?
No, that's
Well,
not correct.
you should look
maybe somebody's-
online at your figures.
All right,
That's
Brian,
where I've got them
please,
from.
please, it is question of
Okay,
council,
well, the
so-
question is
yeah.
then, with that type of money that's been spent, which is 132 million, again, we haven't even got a CAT bus service in Busselton. Can anybody explain why we haven't got a service of any description?
Ms. Seah.
I don't think this is going to satisfy you, but the shuttle service was trialled to support services in 2022, and it was discontinued because it wasn't viable. There are a small number of private operators that provide shuttle transfer for fly-in, fly-out flights. However, there is no public transport bus operating to meet FIFO flight schedules or other services to the airport.
And I will add, Brian, that I've seen a lot of the time these big buses driving around Busselton, and you're lucky to see 1 or 2 people on them. And this is the problem. We don't have people using them, so it makes it very difficult to make
If you haven't got
viable.
the service there in the first place to start with, they're never going to use it, are
That's
they?
to do with the PTA.
Okay.
So
I believe also that sometime in last year, on question number 4, a gentleman by the name of Kevin Bird put forward an option of a bus service to the airport, including with his bus service he would have had on the back of it transport for luggage and so on, and he was refused.
Ms. Seah.
The city doesn't restrict private operators operating from the airport. The only requirement is for private operators to apply for a permit, which is free of charge and ensures that all private operators meet state licensing requirements.
The writing I got back from Mr. Bird and the letter you
Sorry,
sent to him.
I think you have had your answer. What Mr. Byrne
But it wasn't
said.
the answer. You sent him a letter which I've read, so you haven't given me the right answer. Okay, if I go on to question number 5 then.
Thank you.
The Yoke Group, which is building in Yalyalup, which is now building in Bark, have promised a shopping centre. Has anybody said to the Yoke Group that they've got to raise the area by 5 feet before they do any further building?
I'll answer that. No, that statement is
True.
incorrect. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Brian. Thank you.
Okay.
Next, we have Dr. Andrew Dickey.
Andrew Dickey from Busselton. I have 3 short questions with no preamble at all. First question, what was the cost of membership of the Western Australian Local Government Association for the City of Busselton for the last financial year, including the cost of any additional service subscriptions?
Mr. CEO.
Thank you. These figures are all quoted exclusive of GST. The city has paid $66,327 in annual subscriptions for the current 2025-26 year. This included the association subscriptions and subscriptions for employee relations, procurement, tax services and local laws. For the last financial year, we paid a total of $84,387.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Second question, what was the cost of training of elected members and council staff by the Western Australian Local Government Association for the last financial year?
Mr. CEO.
Thank you. The year-to-date for 2025-26 financial year, the city has spent $10,163 on WA LGA provided training. For the previous financial year, the city spent $17,932.
Thank you very much. Third question, what was the cost of elected members and council staff attending Western Australian Local Government Association events for the last financial year?
Thank you. The year-to-date for this financial year, $397 has been spent on the Walga Convention. In the previous full financial year, 24-25, the city spent $4,889.
Oh, sorry, can you just repeat that? I missed it. The last one for last financial year.
$4,889.
4,889.
This will be in the minutes as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed.
It won't be. Not noticed. That's cool. Thank you. Next, we have somebody from Barra.
Jane Bennett from Busselton, representing Barra. Thank you for taking the questions. Are a little bit late this afternoon, so I appreciate that being allowed. First of all, before the first question, I just wanted to say that we're very thankful that the council does put signage up when spraying is occurring around town. And residents have expressed thanks that they can be aware when that's happening. We've got some other departments that aren't doing that, and we're using local government as a way of showing that that's a good modelling for some other departments if they would like to consider that. So my first question was, can the city please share the withholding period that is used after glyphosate has been sprayed in urban or rural areas within the Shire, as in when people can enter the area again, after how long?
Mr. CEO.
Thank you for the question. The glyphosate safety data sheet, instructions and text sheet do not specify a requirement for a withholding period, as the product is non-hazardous in its neat form and applied at a 1 to 2% dilution.
So just confirming that safety data sheet, that's not the city's?
No, it's the safety data sheet, or SDS, is what the manufacturers would specify.
Okay. I'd be interested to know what science is used to make that decision, but is that something we can access?
That's the sheet that comes on the, I spray myself on the farm, and withholding periods are usually actually on animals going in there and eating it. But that is the data sheet that comes on the bottom.
That's what
the
you
canisters,
referred
the
to.
20-litre canisters themselves, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So did you say how long that was, sorry? Or you just...
Well, the requirement for withholding period, the product is non-hazardous in its neat form, and it is applied at 1 to 2% dilution. So it is a form of 99% diluted.
So does that mean that we can go on that instantly? I'm just...
Yeah, that's what it's
Okay,
saying.
that's what you're saying is
Sure.
what it says on the thing. Okay. And the second question was, from reading the agenda, and we could be wrong in our interpretation, so please correct us if we are. So it appears to state that the budget for the 26-27 spraying program will be double the previous year's budget for the same areas covered. Is this correct? And if so, could you please explain why it's doubled in cost for the new agreement with the tender?
Mr. CEO, please.
Yeah, thanks for the question. The current tender is due to expire in accordance with purchasing requirements, and tenders have been called. We cannot comment on the increase in costs, as this will be dictated by the market, and the 26-27 budget is still being formulated, so I don't know where the double the figure came from.
Just in the description there in the council comments, it says 35,000 is doubled, and then it says an extra 70,000 in another section of the agenda. So it seemed to be a doubling because that makes it 100,000 more. Is that not what it means?
That's not an approval of the project. That's merely identifying the cost of the product under the tender. That's not an approval to execute the works.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions? I'm going to move on to, in accordance with the order of the Local Government Standards Panel, I have been asked by Councillor Love to address the meeting to make a public apology. Councillor Love, please rise. I note that no further questions or statements are to be made post the apology.
I advise this meeting that a complaint was made to the Local Government Standards Panel in which it was alleged that I contravened the Local Government Model Code of Conduct Regulations 2021 when, at the council meeting held on the 28th of May 2025, I made inappropriate comments relating to the alleged misconduct by another councillor and that they were unrelated to the matter being discussed. The panel found that by behaving in this matter, I committed one breach of Regulation 18(1)(b) of the said regulations. I accept that I should not have acted in such a manner, and I now apologise to Councillor Ryan for having done so.
Thank you, Councillor Love. Item 6.1, petitions, nil. Item 6.2, presentations by a party of interest, nil. 6.3, deputations, nil. We have no questions by members, which has been taken on due notice. I now move on to item 8.1, which is the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 25th of March 2026. Please note that this has been reissued as there were some changes to the voting, how the voting was done on item 17.2. Do I have a mover? Moved Councillor Kennedy, seconded Councillor Love. Is there any opposition? Being no opposition, I put the vote. All those in favour? Vote carried 9-0. I have no applications for leave of absence. We move on to items brought forward and adoption by exception resolution, that the officer recommendations for items 13.1, 14.1, 15.1 and 15.3 be adopted en bloc. Do I have a mover? Moved Councillor Dykstra, seconded Councillor Love. Is there any opposition? Being no opposition, I put the motion. All those in favour? Motion's carried 9-0. I now move on to item 13.2, and I have a impartiality interest from Councillor Ryan. If you'd like to stand, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I declare an impartiality interest in item 13.2 as I am a committee member of the Busselton Football Club. As a consequence, there may be a perception that my impartiality on the matter may be affected, and I declare that I will consider the item solely on its merits and vote or act accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Do I have a mover for this item? Move Councillor Kennedy, seconded Councillor McNeish. Is there any opposition? Being no opposition, I put the motion. All those in favour? Motion carried 9-0, absolute majority. Item 15.2 is the Meelup Regional Park Committee, appointment of independent members. Do I have a mover? Move Councillor Ryan, seconded Councillor Adams. Is there any opposition? Being no opposition, I put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried 9-0, absolute majority. We now move on to motions of which have been given notice. Item 17.1, we have two impartiality interests, one from myself and one from Councillor Mueller. Councillor Mueller, do you wish to?
Yep. I declare an impartiality interest in item 7.
Excuse me, Mr Mayor, on reflection, I need to declare an interest in this too, as I'm also a member of the Bushfire Brigade. I'm on the
Okay,
committee.
yep, so if you can repeat this after. If you listen very carefully to what Councillor Mueller has to say.
Sure.
I declare an impartiality interest in item 17.1 as I am a City of Busselton Bushfire Brigade volunteer. As a consequence, there may be a perception that my impartiality on the matter may be affected. I declare that I will consider the item solely on its merits and vote or act accordingly.
Do you wish me to read mine first? Are you okay? Councillor Ryan, do you wish to? You want me to? Likewise, I declare an impartiality interest on item 17.1 as I am a City of Busselton Bushfire Brigade volunteer. As a consequence, there may be a perception that my impartiality on the matter may be affected. I declare that I will consider the item solely on its merits and vote or act accordingly. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, I declare an impartiality interest in item 17.1 as I am a committee member of the Busselton Bushfire Brigade, and as a consequence there may be a perception that my impartiality on the matter may be affected, and I declare that I will consider the item solely on its merits and vote accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Therefore, Councillor Mueller, do you wish to move your motion? Put your
Yes,
motion,
please.
sorry.
Yeah, move as written, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Is there a seconder? Being seconder, Kate Cox. Is there any opposition? There is opposition. Therefore, Councillor Mueller, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Yeah, thank you. So this one here is just aimed at, I guess I should put forward the context, right? We rely heavily on volunteers within the City of Busselton, as do other local governments around the state and indeed around Australia. And yes, it's quite important that we recognise the contribution that volunteers make, in this case particularly emergency services, and in this particular case the bushfire brigades. I'd just like to clarify the reason why this is just bushfire brigades and not extended to all emergency services is that the bushfire brigades are the only emergency service that come under the administration of the City of Busselton. Having said that, there's nothing to say that this can't be a pilot for more broad recognition of volunteers, emergency volunteers and beyond. So one of the good things about he's put me on the spot. So it's always really important that we have volunteers in our community, and they play a huge role in looking after our community and community safety. And one of the things that is in the scorecard, the community survey scorecard, is community safety. So it's quite important that we that we acknowledge this. I might also just, if this will come up for me quickly, I did, on the last Bushfire Advisory Committee, there was a report from the Community Emergency Services Manager where we were presented with some of the stats on the number of volunteers that we have. And I'll just read this part out of the committee meeting. It says that in the last year, we've had a decline of 10.2% in bushfire volunteer numbers, and it says that it reinforces the need to maintain a strong focus on volunteer recruitment, retention, brigade support strategies moving forward, as well as monitoring membership sustainability across the district. So there's a recognition, we've got a decrease in the number of bushfire volunteers, and there's an acknowledgement by city officers that we need to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to support these people. Look, I think the reason kind of sums it up pretty nicely. So if I can quote from that, like, local volunteer bushfire services play a critical role in emergency response within our district. And we see that every year. The city relies heavily on the commitment and availability of these volunteers to protect the community during bushfire emergencies. And recently the city, so this year is the first year that the city's introduced a pre-start medical assessment for bushfire volunteers as a requirement for joining. There has also been indication that this is likely to be rolled out to existing members in the future. So given this increasing expectation on volunteers, it's appropriate that the city also consider ways to support the health and wellbeing of these volunteers. So all this is asking is that the CEO look into ways that we can support bushfire volunteers. And like I said, perhaps this can even be expanded in future once we know the numbers, because it's basically going to be the same thing expanded to different groups. I think it's really important that we have a look at this, see what we can do. Whether it's, I think it's likely that it's going to be of low cost, and a lot of it will be in-kind support. So hopefully it won't be too impactful. But yeah, obviously I really hope that you guys can get behind this one, and that we get the information we need to make decisions about supporting our volleys. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Mueller. And just for the record, him you refer to as Councillor McNeish. Sorry. Seconder, Councillor Cox, you wish to.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll reserve my right at this time.
Okay. Speaker against, Councillor McNeish.
Thank you, sir. Very encouraged to see the NOM come through and the speech to back it up. What is a very worthwhile pursuit. I'm only speaking against to bolster the fact that what comes back, the valuable thoughts and research that's been requested, comes back to the council, because I know we have thousands and thousands of budget line items, and things like this can get missed or dealt with in sessions in early May and don't come through until later on. And then just sort of, if they don't come through till later on, they're missed. So where does the motion bring the information back to the council? So I want to move an amendment, if I could, that on the second last line where it says, and provide to the council the above information and any other relevant information, then flips into to inform budget development processes. So I just want to see this valuable information, and as you say, a pilot, could be a pilot example for expansion into, take out the word bushfire brigade and just put volunteers. City of Busselton volunteers, what a magnificent segment we have, sector of the community we have, and it's not about the money, we just want to recognise them. So if we can come out with ways to recognise... Sorry,
Councillor, I just wish to confirm that you're putting an amendment, and
I am, thank you, sir. You've nailed me correctly.
If you're changing other parts to this, then that may affect
that was my amendment.
All right,
was the second bottom line.
Okay, I just need to have this on the screen.
pretty much, and provide to the council the above and any other relevant information to inform.
Well, just
Second bottom line.
a newer governance member with us, so we'll give them a little
Yeah, that's okay.
slack.
This only got written down about 16 minutes ago. Only.
And provide to the council the above and any other relevant information. Are you happy with that amendment?
To the council the above and any other relevant information. Well done. That's exactly it. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder for that amendment?
May I have a question of clarity?
Certainly, Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you. So through the chair, my understanding of this now, because it needs to come through the council, will need to be a formal report. Is that differ from the original motion?
Personal explanation?
You may give a personal explanation.
Thank you. Not necessarily a council report, because the council will be seeing all the budget stuff that comes through. So I needed to survive the process until the budget stuff comes to the council, because a collection of 9 councillors in a budget briefing session is not the council. Okay, so I needed to go on the public. Sorry, I would like to see Councillor Mueller's efforts be, on a public record going forward in the next couple of months, rather than being lost in a non-council budget briefing session, which without the amendment, that could happen.
Thank you, Councillor McNish. Through the chair, am I able to have my question answered?
You may. Repeat the question just so we can...
Yeah, so adding this amendment here, does that differ from the original? My understanding was we'd get this information with all of the other information we do in the budget. But this is turning it into something bigger? Is that
Mr.
what's
Chair,
happening?
do you wish to answer that? Or?
My interpretation of the original motion was we would bring a report back to the council before the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a seconder for this amendment?
But can we fix that typo, please?
Okay. Is there opposition? Being no opposition, I put the... I now put the amendment. All those in favour? Carried 9-0. Right. We now move back to the substantive motion. Do I have a speaker for? Councillor Adams.
Thank you. I speak for. I think this is just a common sense thing, because it's getting harder to volunteer, no matter what you're doing these days with all the new rules and regulations. And with the new thing coming in that they have to have a fitness test, I think at least 1 or 2, maybe even 2. We've got to remember not all the firefighters are superior athletes like our 3 councillors here. Some require a bit of work. So I think it's only fair, the job they do, that we actually give them the nod. I think it's going to cost the city next to nothing, but I just think it's a good acknowledgement of the great work they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Speaker against? Speaker for? Councillor Cox, you have your...
I'll continue to reserve my right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And your right of reply?
Nothing to rebut. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Therefore, I put the motion in front of us. All those in favour? Motion's carried 9-0, absolute majority. Thank you. We will now move on to item 17.2, Councillor McLeish, Local Laws Annual Review Workshop. Would you like to put your motion?
Sorry, move this on the screen. Thank you.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Ryan. Is there any opposition? Being no opposition, I put the motion. All those in favour? I'm putting the motion now. All those in favour? So, that appears to be unanimous. 9-0. Thank you. We now have a report of confidential nature. Please, councillors. We have one report of a confidential nature in accordance with Section 5.23 Government Act 1995. In order to maintain confidentiality of these items, I will seek a decision to close the meeting to the members of the public and all staff. Do I have a mover to close this meeting to the public? Councillor McNeish, seconded Councillor Mueller. Is there any opposition? Being no opposition, I put that motion. All those in favour? Motion's carried 9-0. I would now ask that the gallery is cleared and just staff members being Director Pearson and the CEO to remain. We will go. Appreciate you. Welcome back. The committee recommendation item 19.1 is that the committee recommend that the council receive the attached summary assessment for each applicant against its selection criteria, which is confidential attachment 1. That the committee recommend that the council, following interviews of the shortlisted candidates under the motion C2603-73, progress candidate C, referred in confidential attachment 2 to the next stage of the recruitment and selection process, incorporating a formal presentation. That the committee recommend that the council, following interviews of the shortlisted candidates, progress the candidate A, referenced in confidential attachment 2 to the next stage of the recruitment and selection process, incorporating a formal presentation. And item 4 is that the committee recommend to the council that the candidates progressed to the next stage be personality profiled in a manner appropriate as determined by the recruitment consultant to inform decision making. This motion was carried 7-2. The next ordinary council meeting will be Wednesday, 29th of April 2026, and I now declare this meeting closed at 18:40. I thank you all for your attendance.